Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, the men's soccer team is heading to their 5th straight Big Ten championship game. We have the recap on their tournament performance heading into the final.
And basketball is back. Hear how the men's and women's teams fared in their season openers. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Blake Spillers.
And I'm Elizabeth Ward.
The Indiana men's soccer team redeemed themselves with a victory over Rutgers this past Sunday in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament. After falling to Rutgers in regular season play, the Hoosiers got back on top and defeated the Scarlet Knights 1-0. In the 27th minute, freshman Sam Sarver blasted a finish off of a ball from Herbert Endley. That win moved them into the semifinals to take on Northwestern, whom they beat yesterday in an overtime thriller. Our men's soccer beat reporter Tao Lau has the recap.
Overtime, super saves, golden goal, we had it all here at Bill Armstrong Stadium. Indiana takes down Northwestern 1-0 thanks to Joey Mayer's goal in overtime. After defeating Rutgers this past Sunday 1-0, the Hoosiers welcomed 7th seed Northwestern into town this afternoon. IU was dealt an early blow. Big Ten Defender of the Year Daniel Muni had to be subbed out with less than 20 minutes into the match. This meant that Brett Beebe and Joey Mayer were the defensive pairing. The two did well as they kept Northwestern to only 5 shot attempts in the half. Herbert Endley and Ben Yeagley were the two closest to finding the back of the net. However, the Hoosiers weren't clinical enough. The half ended 0-0. Coming out into the second half, Indiana was on full attack mode. IU sent more players forward, and the Hoosiers could have easily been up 1 or 2 goals. All Big Ten second team selection Victor Becerra led the way with 5 shot attempts, 3 of them forcing Northwestern's Miha Miskovic to make the saves. But despite outshooting Northwestern 13-2 in the second period, the Hoosiers had to settle for yet another overtime at home. Roman Celentano was a passenger for most of the match. He only recorded 1 save in regulation. But then in overtime, the junior goalkeeper made 4 consecutive saves to deny Northwestern. After a brilliant combination play, Joey Mayer was found unmarked. The center back calmly put it away and sent IU to a 5th consecutive Big Ten tournament title match.
It was all in just such a blink of an eye. It was unbelievable. It was such a good team goal, and these teammates, these guys, they just want what's best for each other. It's an incredible feeling to play here.
A Super Sunday title match will now await Indiana as the Hoosiers will travel to Happy Valley to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Indiana is chasing for the program's 16th Big Ten tournament title and a 4th consecutive as well. Be sure to follow me and IUSTV Sports for all the latest updates you need on this Indiana men's soccer team.
The team will travel to Happy Valley on Sunday to take on Penn State in the championship game, in what will be a rematch of last year's final, which was decided in a penalty shootout. Expect this year's final to be another tight matchup between the two teams.
The Mike Whitson era officially started with a win against Eastern Michigan on Tuesday. Our IUSTV Sports men's basketball reporters Evan Kamiko and Jevin Mikowski have more.
The start of the Mike Woodson era was the start that all Hoosier fans hoped for.
You know, this is the first test with this team, and again, I was happy that we didn't crack down the stretch and we made winning basketball plays down the stretch to secure the game.
But in pure Indiana fashion, there was drama towards the end as IU let a 21-point lead slip away.
We got soft. We were comfortable, put it that way, with the lead, and then it changed drastically. So, these are just things that we got to learn from, man. And
we were up by 20 with about 10 minutes left, and we just didn't step on their throats when we showed up.
Well, the defense remained strong in the second half. The offense still remains a mystery, Jeff.
Yeah, Trey Jackson-Davis in the second half dominated on both offensive and defensive side of the ball. The only problem is anyone not named TJD struggled on the offensive side in the second half.
our last scrimmage, little setup. We shot the same percentage, 4 for 24. Coach told us we got to get in the gym, and that's what we're going to keep grinding. We're going to get back in the gym tomorrow.
The good news, the fans were in the Hoosiers' corner the entire game.
Just having the fans back, I know dang near more than half of our team has never experienced a Assembly Hall crowd. It's something that's going to help us, and there are 6 men, so thank you to the fans.
You know, the fan base here is like no other fan base. I mean, they stay in the game all the way from the beginning to the end. We're going to need our fan base.
At the end of the day, a win is a win. Indiana defeats Eastern Michigan 68-62 and will take on Northern Illinois on Friday. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Evan Kamiko.
The Hoosiers start the season 1-0 with a matchup against Northern Illinois coming up on November 12th. Follow along with Evan and Jevin for game updates.
The Indiana women's basketball team faced off against the University of Indianapolis in an exhibition game. Terry Morin comes into her 6th straight season coaching the Hoosiers. And led by Grace Berger and Allie Patberg, there's a lot of expectations. Our IUS TV beat reporters Brett Smith and Audrey Hausberger have all the coverage.
Starting the season off on the right foot, Indiana women's basketball almost broke 100 in their first game of the season in an exhibition matchup against the University of Indianapolis.
You know, what this will give us is just good film, great film that we can do a lot of teaching.
The Hoosiers started off with a strong presence on both sides of the ball with a 62% shooting percentage. And with senior guard Nicole Cardano-Hillary back with her pesky defense, it was a recipe to give IU a sturdy lead going into halftime.
I think that the way she plays defense so aggressively every time is very helpful to us, and she also pushes in transition. She's looking to get the ball off the floor quickly, and she's just a great point guard, super aggressive, super intense at all times.
Last season, Terry Morin stressed that her bench needed to come off and produce on the court. We saw all 13 athletes come on the court tonight against UIndy and produce, something that Allie Patberg and Mackenzie Holmes think will be a strength going forward in this season.
Our bench, played the whole 4th quarter, and they stepped up. They kept the intensity. They didn't let their foot off the pedal. So I think that it's great experience for those younger players, especially getting a chance to be on the court.
Freshman Caitlin Peterson looked very comfortable on both ends, and Terry Morin feels like this could be very important for the team going forward.
Now, I will say this: she's a worker. She's in here every single day, and we feel good about her progression as the season goes forward.
Although the 97-43 win for the Hoosiers may show otherwise, Terry Morin and her players agree that there were aspects that needed to be better.
I don't have the box score in front of me, but I know we need to get better at free throws, and hitting our free throws, I'm pretty sure we probably shot like 68%, which is not going to cut it.
While the new additions to the team made contributions, 4 of the veteran starters put up double-digit points and were excited to be back in action in a crowd-filled Assembly Hall.
Every game we get here, I'm excited to play in front of the great fans that we have, my family, my friends. And yeah, it feels amazing, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful I'm here.
Reporting for IUS TV Sports, Audrey Hausberger and Brett Smith.
The Hoosiers play Butler in their first regular season game. Follow along with Audrey and Brett for more updates.
IU football went into the Big House desperately needing a win against the University of Michigan to keep their postseason bowl hopes alive. But the challenge was too much for an Indiana team depleted by injuries. Our Will Trupshaw has more.
Well, the losing streak stands at 4 now for Indiana football as they fell 29-7 to the Michigan Wolverines on Saturday, dropping Indiana on the season to 2-7. And for the Hoosiers, it's kind of the same old again. One phase shows up, the other does not. This time the defense looked much better than they did against Maryland, surrendering just 29 points, even though they gave up 411 yards. Overall, it was a tighter defensive effort, but the offense really struggled. Again, 195 yards total, just 7 points coming back in the second quarter. And there was a stretch where they did not pick up a first down from the scoring of that touchdown until into the 4th quarter. They started the second half with 4 straight 3-and-outs. So again, a tale of just not everything coming together at once. And Tom Allen expressed his frustration with his team's inability to do just that.
But just to be able to play complementary football where often defense are working off each other hasn't been the case this season. It's been a real struggle for us to do that. And I think it's a big reason why we haven't had the success that we expected to have.
And of course, injuries have played a big part too for Indiana. They suffered quite a few more on Saturday. Most notably, though, Stephen KARAH, the lone scholarship running back left for Indiana in the backfield, went down with what appeared to be a leg injury of some kind. Just had 3 carries in the game before it was turned over to Chris Childers and Davion Irvin Poindexter, 2 walk-ons. And of course, Donovan McCulley still under center as Jack Tuttle and Mike Penix are out. So the injury bug, again, has not been kind. It's only gotten worse for Indiana as this season has grinded on.
I guess we've just been unfortunate, and we didn't have hardly any last year, and it's been the exact opposite this year.
And with just 3 games left in the season for Indiana, their bowl hopes are over. No three-peat for a bowl this year for Indiana. Best they can do is 5-7, and they'll have to go through first Rutgers, who comes here to Memorial Stadium this upcoming Saturday. It'll be a noon kickoff from Memorial Stadium. We'll have you covered, the entire IU football team for iUS TV Sports. Reporting for iUS TV Sports, I'm Will Trubshaw. We'll see you then.
Stephen KARAH remains questionable for Saturday's matchup with the Scarlet Knights, though x-rays on his ankle were negative. And both Michael Penix and Jack Tuttle were set to take practice reps this week. It's unclear if either QB will be available for Saturday.
Coming up after the break, we crown this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And stick around for the latest on volleyball, tennis, wrestling, and more. You're watching Hoosier Sports Nite.
Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Nite.
Joining us in the studio for this week's Hoosier Highlights is iUS TV sports reporter KARAH Martin. KARAH?
Thanks, Blake and Elizabeth. This week's Hoosier Highlight features Trace Jackson Davis. In the men's basketball home opener Tuesday night, Jackson Davis played 37 minutes, going 9 for 14 in field goals. He earned a double-double with 14 rebounds and scored 21 points. Jackson Davis also made Hoosier history as he just passed former IU basketball player Isaiah Thomas on the IU all-time scorer list. Watch out for Jackson Davis this season because he will be a promising and key player to Hoosiers' success this season. You can watch him in action this Friday as the Hoosiers take on Northern Illinois at Assembly Hall. That's all for this week's Hoosier Highlight. Elizabeth, back to you.
Thanks, KARAH. It was another tough weekend for Indiana volleyball on the road, facing off against Iowa and Northwestern. Against the Hawkeyes, Indiana fell by a score of 3-1. The storylines remained the same for the Hoosiers. They were out-hit and out-aced, but Brianna Edwards was a bright spot, once again tallying 19 kills. In the second game of the weekend, Indiana lost to Northwestern by the same score of 3-1. The Hoosiers were not able to avenge their loss to the Wildcats as they were out-hit 60-42. Many Hoosiers saw the court, including Gray Gosnell, who had a season-high 11 kills. Indiana's record stands at 9-17 after the weekend. They'll face Illinois this Friday and return home on Sunday to play Nebraska.
The IU wrestling team had a solid start to their season with dominating performances over SIUE and Bellarmine this past Sunday. The Hoosiers dismantled the SIUE Cougars 40-3 with 3 pinfalls from Brock Hudkins at 133, DJ Washington at 184, and Nick Willem at 197. The team also saw 2 tech falls and 4 decisions led by Jacob Morin at 125 and Graham Rooks at 149. Moving on to the Bellarmine Knights, the Hoosiers continue to roll with 1 pinfall, 2 tech falls, and 3 major decisions, and 3 decisions leading to another 40-3 win on the day, with the only 2 losses between the 2 matches coming at 165. The wrestling team will be back in action this Sunday when they travel to Appalachian State to compete in the Mountaineer Invite. Follow our wrestling beat reporter Riley Woodall to catch all the live updates from the meet.
Both cross-country teams were in action last Friday for the Hoosiers Invitational right here in Bloomington. iUS TV cross-country beat reporters Garrett Drake and Kevin Vera were on the scene for the races.
It's a crisp Friday, November 5th, here in Bloomington, and we're here at the Hoosier Invitational at Indiana's cross-country course. There's a few colleges that are going to be participating here today. It was open invite, no entry fee, so really it was a free-for-all, come and go, run as you choose. The women are about to finish up here, and then the men will run to follow, and we're going to have all the results for you right here on IUS TV. We'll be right back. The women's race started off the Invitational with a 6K, and we saw 14 runners competing from 4 different schools. Indiana was able to grab 4 of the top 5 spots, with sophomore Jenna Barker taking first with a time of 22:02. She was followed closely by Kelly Mindek, Lauren Mick, and Phoebe Bates for Indiana. The team was victorious with an average time of 22:50. Now onto the men's race, where we saw 17 runners representing 5 schools competing in the 8K. Sophomore Keelan Grant took the victory for the Hoosiers by a hefty margin with an impressive time of 25:25, averaging a 5:06 mile pace. Paul Rushton also finished in the top 5 for Indiana, and both teams will be back in action in Evansville for the Great Lakes Regional. It was an action-packed day from the Sam Bell cross-country course here in Bloomington. The Hoosiers will be back in action next week, and we'll have all the action for you right here on IUS TV. This has been Garrett Drake and Kevin Vera reporting.
Both teams will be back in action this Friday in Evansville for the NCAA Great Lakes Regional.
The IU men's tennis team competed in the Big Ten individual tournament this past weekend in East Lansing, Michigan. In singles, the Hoosiers were led by Ilya Tiraspolsky, who advanced to the semifinals before falling in a tough 3-set match against Michigan. In doubles, the team of Tiraspolsky and Patrick Fletchel advanced to the semifinals before losing to a Northwestern team. The rest of the doubles teams went 1-1 in the tournament. The Hoosiers are done for the rest of 2021 as they prepare for the Big Ten season this spring. For the women's tennis team, Laura Masick and Laura Schneider traveled to San Diego this past weekend for the ITA National Fall Championships. Despite overcoming a 5-2 deficit in the first set, the team lost a tough 3-setter 7-6, 1-6, 6-7 versus Colorado State. In their consolation match against Ole Miss, Masick and Schneider lost 7-6, 6-0. The IU women's team also wrapped up their 2021 action as they have the Big Ten season coming up this spring.
Your IU field hockey team finished out their season this past Thursday as they took on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights in the Big Ten tournament. IU started the game off strong with 6 shot attempts in the first quarter. Early in the first, midfield Jess McGurven started to put the Hoosiers in the lead, but despite the Hoosiers' efforts, the number 2 ranked Scarlet Knights took control of the game and defeated IU 3-1. The loss puts a wrap on the fall 2021 field hockey season.
Now joining us in studio with the Candy Stripe Calendar Report is IUS TV sports reporter Riley Woodall. Riley?
Thanks, Blake and Elizabeth. I'm Riley Woodall, and this is everything in store for what should be an exciting week of Hoosier sports. Kicking off the weekend on Friday, the cross-country team travels down to Evansville, Indiana to compete in the NCAA Great Lakes Regional at 12 p.m. Later in the evening, women's volleyball will be on the road against Illinois at 7, looking to bounce back after their recent losses. And rounding out Friday, the men's basketball team faces off against Northern Illinois in Assembly Hall after a solid performance in their season opener. Tip-off is at 7. Looking to Saturday, the IU football team is back home at Memorial Stadium versus Rutgers with a noontime kickoff. Follow football beat reporters Will Trubshaw and Noah Harrison for live updates from the game. And Sunday has another huge wave of sports, starting with the wrestling team competing up at Appalachian State in the Mountaineer Invite. The Hoosiers are 2-0 on the season and will look to continue that win streak in North Carolina. The men's soccer team is heading back to yet another Big Ten championship game. They will travel to Happy Valley to take on fierce rival Penn State at 12 p.m. And women's volleyball sees their second matchup of the weekend, this time back in Bloomington against Nebraska. The match begins at Wilkinson Hall at 2 p.m. And rounding out the Sunday festivities, IU women's basketball tips off at 5 in a huge matchup versus number 13 Kentucky at home in Assembly Hall. The number 8 ranked Hoosiers are off to a solid start after a dominating performance against UIndy. That's all for the Candy Stripe Calendar Report this week. Be sure to stay tuned to IUS TV Sports to keep up with all the action this weekend. Best of luck, Hoosiers. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Riley. That's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUS TV Sports for all the latest IU sports news. For our production crew behind us, I'm Elizabeth Ward.
And I'm Blake Spillers. We'll see you next week.